Our next guest is an Emmy and Tony Award-winning actor you know from shows such as The Practice, Boston Legal, The Librarians, and The John Larroquette Show. He returns as Dan Fielding in the revival of Night Court, which premieres with back-to-back episodes on January 17th here on NBC. Let's take a look.
All right, look, I just want to say this one thing. I'm only here to help out temporarily, a few days.
I'm here in weeks.
If you keep smiling like that, I'm out of here right now, so just knock it off. It's better.
Better, Your Honor.
I'm already regretting this.
Please welcome to the show, the one, the only John Larroquette, everybody. How are you?
I'm still alive.
You're still alive. We're proving it. We're proving it on live TV. It's so exciting.
Oh, this is so great. I've not been in front of a live audience in quite a while. It's
really nice, isn't it? It makes a huge
invigorating.
difference.
Good that you're here.
It makes a huge difference. This is very exciting for me. This was a show that I remember being a huge fan of back in the day. It ran for 9 seasons. These are sort of things that don't happen anymore. I think everybody knew it. It was nominated for over 30 Emmys. Is it a trip to return to it 30 years later?
Oh, an absolute trip, yes. I mean, it was a trip that I reluctantly finally decided to join after a lot of cajoling and from Melissa Rauch, particularly.
Who is the lovely judge in that scene? Yeah.
She is a lovely judge, and because of the way that it was presented to me, that as an actor, I became aware that, oh wait, hold on a second, how often does one get a chance to look at a character that you played 30 years ago and see him now, 30 years in the future? What's happened to him? How, as an actor, it seemed like an interesting problem to actually solve.
And it has. There is a huge change, right? Like Dan Fielding was arrogance incarnate. Like that was my memory of him, a prosecutor. And now you've obviously been changed by life, Dan has, I should say, and are a public defender. That must be one of the fun parts, is how it's different.
Yeah, it's very different. And it takes him a while to realize that's what he's supposed to be doing, because a few times the judge has to remind him as he's scolding the defendant and telling the judge what a piece of crap this guy is. Come on. She goes, you're supposed to be defending him. Oh, well, no, you didn't let me finish. This young man is such a pillar of society. How could you possibly think he did anything wrong? So it was an interesting dilemma. And also the idea that this woman is the daughter of Harry Stone, and that's what really melts Dan Fielding to some degree of humanity to go and help her.
It is a lot of similarities with the set. Certainly brings me back. The theme song is a little different and was tweaked from within your family.
Yes. When my youngest son was born during the heyday of Night Court in 1987. And Benjamin is an excellent musician, graduate of the Berklee College of Music, and my middle son is also an artist, a musician, and my daughter. They're a very artistic family. But Ben called me one day and said, listen what I did. I just did it. He did it from memory, and he just recorded it himself. And so I thought, that's a nice new take on that. So I showed it to Melissa and Dan Rubin with no intention of going, hey, Nepo.
Yeah, you should never say Nepo out loud. That's one of the things you hear.
Yeah. And they went, oh my God, this is fantastic. It's perfect. And so he wound up being the composer, and he does all the interstitial music so he's the composer of the new Night Court.
Oh, that's really nice. I want to ask, having played a lawyer more than once on television, do you think you would make a good lawyer?
No, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't be a very good public defender, because I would be unable to not take money from people.
Yeah.
But
it's very noble that you know that about yourself.
Yes,
yeah.
Listen, one accepts one's shortcomings and tries to make the best of them, as we all do in life. I don't know, and I don't know why. I'm 6'5". I have a deep voice. Perhaps that seems somewhat judicial or something.
Yeah.
I played lawyers before Night Court. In my very early career, I was a lawyer on Dallas, of all things, a series that was around in the late 70s. So it wasn't just Night Court that started it, but certainly there was a cavalcade of them after Night Court came along. Serious and comedic as well.
You were in a show that I remember feeling very special at the time. It was critically adored. It never quite became the sort of ratings monster that Night Court was, which was the John Larroquette Show. Was that a show you look back on and reflect on fondly for how different it was?
Yes, definitely fondly. The only thing I don't like, I hated the title. I liked the show.
Yeah. So now I should note, the John Larroquette Show, not your idea.
Not my idea
Yeah.
at all. I begged Warren Littlefield, who was president of the network at the time, not to name it that because, and it was completely ego, because I knew eventually one day I was going to look at the Nielsen ratings and it was going to go number 76, The John Larroquette Show. But because of Night Court, because of the first season, we were pitted against Roseanne when she was at her heyday.
Yeah.
They thought at least that'll bring some people into the tent, which I lost that battle. But I think the idea of the show, Don Rio's script that I found, the first season of that show, I thought was, I don't say this modestly, some of the best sitcom television ever made. And the show changed because wanting to try and get numbers, wanting to try and get a larger audience in, it changed, and it was still funny. Mitch Hurwitz came along a couple of years later, ran it before he did Arrested Development, great comedy writer. But it just sort of lost its soul a little bit and lost its way. But, you know, almost 4 years. You can't really call it a flop being
No.
on the air for almost 100 episodes.
No, and again, as we talk about the way the landscape has changed, 100 episodes now feels like a million. So it's really cool
Indeed.
to be able to do that much storytelling with one show.
I also do think that had we done that show 10 years in the future when there was a little more freedom in the cable world of being able to deal with certain subjects, that show would have had longer legs.
I'm sure you still get recognized from that. Obviously, you get recognized from Night Court. Is there any work you did way back before those that you still get recognized for that is surprising to you?
Yeah, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So now, what did you do in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
The opening narration, that's it.
You were the opening narration.
That
How
was-
did that come to be?
In the mid-'60s somewhere, I forget, you know, like Robin said, if you remember the '60s, you weren't there. Living in a little town in Colorado, being a bartender, a fellow came in and we started talking, a fellow named Toby Hooper. And he said, hey, I'm going to be a movie director. I went, yeah, sure, have another course. And he eventually went to LA. I eventually went to LA. Somehow he found out I was in LA. He called and said, I made this movie for nothing, but it's a little horror film. I need a favor. And so I did this opening narration of it. I've never seen the film. Nor have I seen any of the subsequent films of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You're like waiting to do like a one big binge?
Yes, yes, right. And I actually did the subsequent ones as well and actually got money for them as the years went on. I think I've done 3 of them, but still have never seen them, and not without Toby, other people have done them. But it's amazing to me that it has stuck, and horror is not really my genre, so I haven't been to the midnight shows of it or anything, but a lot of people love that movie and remember the fact that, and I don't even think I got a credit on it. I don't think my name is anywhere on it, but people seem to have known that I was the narrator.
Well, that is a very cool first way to break into the business.
Yes,
and it
absolutely.
is so nice you've stayed in the business, and it's so great to have
Very
you here.
kind of
Thank
you.
you so much. John
Thank you.
Larroquette, Night Court, premieres with back-to-back episodes on January 17th, and then will air Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on NBC. We'll be right back with more Late Night.